I want to thank everyone for tuning in to the 25th Hour radio show today. I am your host, Rob Fairless, and on the phone with me today is former Army Ranger and world record holder for most pull-ups within a 24-hour period, Brandon Tucker. Brandon, thank you so much for taking time out on a Saturday to join me on the show.
Absolutely. It's an honor.
All right, man, we got to start somewhere in this interview, so let's start with your career with the Army. What was your personal motivation for deciding to enlist in our military?
I would say the influence of family members. I mean, I grew up in a military background. My father served in the Navy. My uncle served 30 years in the Navy as well. Grandpas both served. And then around that time, my brother was actually deployed to Afghanistan. And that's where I really kind of was in a part of my life. I'd 2 years out of high school, bouncing job to job. I knew I had more to give. And I think, my brother being deployed at that time really inspired me and made me want to get over there with him.
So how did you end up becoming a part of the Rangers? I mean, what's the process behind that?
Well, you got to go through a selection process. I didn't know anything really about Rangers. Like I said, I was kind of in a position where I needed direction. I needed discipline. I needed someone basically yelling in my face, telling me, "Hey, you need to do A, C, A, B, and C." Like I needed guidance. So for me, the military, the Ranger process kind of fell into place. I mean, I got in and started hearing about throughout basic and AIT, I started hearing a lot about the Rangers. I mean, you're always singing Ranger cadences, and I'm like, who the heck is the Rangers? So, after I was in and started learning a little bit more about them, and they're the elite, infantry unit for the Army, and I wanted to be that. I joined to serve, and to not that if you don't serve in the infantry doesn't mean you're not serving. Yeah. I don't mean that at all. Just for me and my goal, and what I wanted to do was infantry. So I got in and told my drill sergeant I wanted to be a Ranger, and he was like, all right, well, keep doing what you're doing. Don't, remember exactly what he said, but
yeah, I got you.
He basically just told me to bust my ass and if I max out the PT test, he put a good word in and ended up doing really well. And actually throughout my whole military career, I don't think I ever didn't max a PT test, which I was really proud about. But it ended up was told I was going to have a Ranger contract getting out of basic training, and turned out my GP score was a little low. So they ended up not giving me a Ranger option 40 contract. I got an airborne contract instead. So that was kind of heartbreaking coming out of AIT, not knowing where you're going. And, after airborne school, kind of at the needs of the Army. So I took it upon myself to go over to the Ranger liaison and ran in there and, talked to this guy, this staff sergeant, and super intimidating guy, and asked him, told him my situation and told him I had a low GT score, and asked him how I could go about getting an option 40 contract. And he told me to write a 1,000-word essay and to come back the next day, have it on his desk, by the start of the day. So I spent all night writing this essay, pouring my heart out into this essay about why I wanted to be a Ranger, and came back the next day, brought it into his office, standing at parade rest, and he's like, kicks his feet up on the desk and kind of chuckles and like, all right, read it to me. So I read him this heartfelt essay on why I thought I would make a good Ranger, and I'm like shaking, so nervous. And he gets done, I get done reading the essay to him, and he's got this big grin on his face, and so, all right, go get the paper off the printer. I'm like still nervous and shaky, and run and get the paper off the printer, and he put it down on his desk. He's like, sign right here. I sign it. I don't even know what I'm signing. I sign it, and I just stand there, and I'm like giving him like a blank stare, like he's looking at me like, what are you doing? And I said, all right, Sergeant, when will I find out if I got an option 40 contract or not? And he's like, you just signed the damn contract. Get out of my office. And so that's kind of how I guess I stumbled into the Rangers. A lot of luck, I guess, and just being persistent with what I wanted to do.
Now, what percentage of people make the cut as opposed to the number of people accepted to attempt to become a Ranger?
I don't know off the top of my head exactly, but I know when I went through, we started with a couple hundred, and only like 50 of us graduated. So.
Yeah, I imagine. Now, did you ever have any thoughts about throwing in the towel when you was going through your training?
There was, I never throwing in the towel, but there were times where, I started questioning, do I have what it takes? Like I'm really hurting, like, on the verge of injury, and, kind of pushing through those moments of doubt. And, yeah, but there was never a moment where I was going to quit. Like I would have died trying.
Well, man, I think this is a perfect segue to start talking about these pull-ups, man. At what point did you start falling in love with this exercise?
I mean, I was always strong, upper body wise. I actually got a lot of grief for my small chicken legs when I got into Ranger Regiment, because that's kind of, you hear Ranger legs, and you see these guys with these jacked quads from rucking all the time, and it's just like, you don't want to be that Ranger with little legs. So, but anyways, I was always strong upper body. I always had a lot of upper body strength, and was always decent at pull-ups. But the pull-up thing for me was more of I was inspired by David Goggins, honestly. I don't know if you've read his book, Can't Hurt Me, but I read it and listened to it on Audible 3 or 4 times, and around that time I was going through a lot. One being, I just lost my military career, lost my mom and my, who I considered a stepfather, in a car accident, and all of that kind of compiled onto to other things. I went through a divorce after being medically retired out of the Army. So I was going through a lot. I just felt like I just kept getting kicked while I was down, and started, reading a lot of self-help and mindfulness books, and doing a lot of mindfulness practice, and just trying to figure my life out. I think the death of my mom kind of woke me up in a sense, like I started asking serious questions, about life and about myself and who I am and why I'm here. And, was exposed to like the shortness of life through my military career, seeing a lot of, young guys die, and going through the death of, really close relatives like my mother, who was my best friend, and all of that. I started digging into what am I here for? What is my purpose? What do I want to do? And what can I do? And I always look back at, my mom and how proud she was of me, serving in the Ranger Regiment. It's hard to go home, it was almost annoying. She always be, hey, my son's a Ranger, my son's a Ranger. So after she died, I kind of lost that, and I needed something to kind of give myself a little bit of belief, and or purpose, I guess. But yeah, I set out, and I set the goal to break the most pull-ups in 24-hour world record, which David Goggins actually didn't hold the record that I broke. He held it, early 2000s, I believe, which I'm not sure exactly what his number was. I think it was 4,300 and something, which I broke it twice. I set out in my training. I had two big test days where I did 14 hours, and I did a 15-hour, which I was planning on doing 16, but I stopped at 15. But I capped his world record twice in that amount of time. So when I did that, I felt like I was really ready.
Yeah. Is it hard to get the attention of the Guinness Book of World Records? I mean, how did you get them to take you seriously? Do you have to send in an application or video or something like that?
Yeah, so they have an application process online. You just go to their website and you search for, whatever world record you're trying to break. I didn't realize how many world records there were. So
it's a big book.
But yeah, you just go on there and pick the world record you want to break. You apply for it. Give like a little bio about yourself, and that's pretty much it. And obviously you can have them on site, but it's really expensive to have them there. I want to say it's like $8,000. So
wow.
What I did was I put a team together. I actually had a good friend of mine, Mary Kubik, who's a Gold Star family member of a fallen Ranger, Ronald Kubik. She actually managed the whole event for me. She put it together. She was, she had a background of working with nonprofits and, event coordinating. So she was like the perfect person, and I couldn't have done it without her. She basically took the wheel on organizing the event, making sure that we were following all the Guinness guidelines and the whole process and got a camera crew together to film it, and we submitted the evidence, and then it was a waiting game. It couldn't have been worse timing for COVID. I submitted that right at I think January of 2020 is when I submitted all the evidence. We finally got it all in order and sent it out. So it took a year for me to get a verification from Guinness due to COVID.
So the record is you broke the most pull-ups within 24 hours. I mean, that's 24 hours straight. There's no sleep in there anywhere.
I mean, you have the 24 hours. How you use it is up to you. And my strategy was to do 90-minute segments of, where I'm actively working. And I followed like an EMOM. I don't know if you know what that is. Basically, every minute on the minute, I would do a set number. And my goal was to try to sustain 8 for each 90-minute block. So 4 every 30 seconds for a total of 8 every minute. I would hold that for 90 minutes. And then I would take a 15-minute break.
Now, do you know how much time you had left when you actually broke the record? I mean, did you still have another hour to go, 15 minutes?
Yeah, I would say probably an hour. I'm not real sure, though. I could look back on the footage and find out exactly what it was. But yeah, I would say maybe even less than an hour. I was chasing the clock. I'll say that.
24 hours of doing nothing but pull-ups had to put a major strain on your body. How long did it take to recover? I mean, you didn't go into work the next day, did you?
No, actually, I spent the night in the hospital with rhabdo. So I don't know if you know what rhabdo is.
No, man, what is that?
Rhabdomyolysis, I think is the technical term for it. But basically, it's where your muscles are get extremely broke down, and basically it can cause kidney failure. It's a bad ordeal. But I don't know all the science behind it, but basically it gets into your bloodstream and you can get really sick and can kill you if it's really bad. But luckily I went ahead, and my girlfriend, she's a resident, she's a doctor. She was at the event and she saw me kind of starting to crash, and she was like, well, let's just go and get you hooked up to an IV at least, and get your blood checked and look at where you're at. And it turned out I was pretty bad, and they ended up keeping me overnight. But yeah, man, I was in bad shape.
I bet, man. I bet. So how does it feel to be the best at something, man? That feeling of accomplishment had to be absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's still kind of surreal when I think about it. Like I'm the only one that's done that amount in a day, So being the only one at something is kind of, I guess it's a good feeling. For me, it was more satisfying to set out for something super, so big and above what I thought I was capable of, and to actually be able to put all the things to practice and to see it come out and to actually pull it off. That was what was rewarding to me. It wasn't about being the best at something. It was more about really fully giving my all to something.
Dude, I could sit and talk about pull-ups all day long because I love the exercise myself, but we're about to start running out of time. Before we wrap this up, what are you up to now? You're a personal trainer, right?
Yeah. So I do personal training at a gym here in Columbus, Georgia. Uncommon Athlete. So really, it's like a strength and conditioning, functional fitness, I guess, would be kind of the realm that we focus on. We do a lot of the similar exercise you would see in a CrossFit gym, except we're very thorough with our coaching, and we preach being intentional and slowing down and really learning the movements and listening to your body, and just it's a great gym, great atmosphere. The coaches are amazing, and Tyler, the owner, has just been a huge help, as far as being a mentor and a coach to me, and kind of helping me with my own path, and basically he's been a good influence for me, kind of following his footsteps and how he coaches and his mindset, and just been a good atmosphere.
For all the people out there who want to follow you on social media, what's your preferred platform to look you up on?
I'm pretty active on Instagram and Facebook. So my Instagram is UA_Brandon, and my Facebook, Brandon Tucker. You can find me on there.
Well, Brandon, are there any final words you would like to share with my listening audience? Any words of wisdom before we bring the show to a close?
Yeah. Follow your dreams. We all have the ability to do anything. I really believe that, and we let fear kind of hold us back. But if you really want something, go after it full-heartedly and believe in yourself. And if you do that and you stick to it, you're gonna be successful. So don't let fear hold you back, and chase your dreams.
Well, Brandon, it's been an absolute pleasure having you as my first guest back on the show. I've been away for quite a while, and for you to step up and do this for me, I'll be forever grateful, man. Thanks.
Awesome, man. Thank you.